What's going on, you cheeky motherfuckers? Welcome to the Crocs and Hot Pockets podcast. My name is Naaackers, and today is Sunday, May 26, 2019, and this is episode number 94. Tonight on the podcast, we have the one and only EposVox. What's going on, dude?
That's me.
It's you, dog. You're here.
Whoa.
We're live.
Hi. I made it.
You did it. How's it going today?
Doing all right. How about yourself?
It's going okay. So I know we were just talking about days off. When is the last time you gave yourself a full day of not doing any work whatsoever?
That's a good question.
Has it been that long?
Because everything's work to some degree. Like the past couple of weeks, I've been really focusing on like redoing my desk organization and a couple of my production room organizations and things like that. But that's still work. Even if I'm not making videos, it's still working. And so I don't really know.
It's been a long time. So I saw that you were just redoing your retro game room. Is that in a completely different area than where you are right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So my main office here is in our living room on the first floor, and then we have a couple of bedrooms that I have taken over on the second floor.
Yes. Okay. I love that you have an entire living room that is dedicated to a space. One, that means you have a very accepting significant other, and two, that means your significant other either shares the same sort of passion. So you're like, hey, by the way, we're gonna take the most common room in the house and dedicate it to technology. And they're like, yeah, okay, I'm okay with that.
A lot of it was her idea.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. So I know why you put a ring on it then. All right. It was an easy choice for you, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
Good shit. All right. Well, just a couple things before we get to this, dude. During the show, if any of you would like to ask any sort of questions, whether directed towards me or Epos, you can use the !Q command in chat, followed by your question. And we'll get to that at the end of the show. Of course, if we're not live and you'd like to ask a question or submit any kind of feedback whatsoever, you can shoot me an email at podcast@naackers.com. And lastly, if you enjoy the show and you'd like to support it in a completely free and easy way, please consider leaving a podcast review on iTunes or whatever other podcast app you use. So for those of you that are new here, the gist of this podcast is when it comes to having just one other guest on the show, I like to invite people on that I want to learn about. People that I've either met recently and just thoroughly enjoy their content, or somebody that I've been following for a long time and somebody that I look up to. Epos, how are you with like compliments, like up front? Does it make you uncomfortable or does it
but I got to learn to deal with it. So bring them on.
Stroke the ego. I've been following Epos for I would say probably since I started streaming. When did your OBS masterclass come out? Or at least
2017.
Okay. So that was kind of, I guess that's where I really, really started getting into your stuff, is because when I started to tackle that whole series and learning everything that I could, I had seen kind of like tech reviews and tech videos a little bit before then, but it was really around like 2017 where I really dived into your stuff, and I was like, you know what, I like this dude a lot. And so ever since then, I've had this, we'll call it a dream, hoping that I could someday sit down with you, have a conversation, and just kind of hear about your story online and how you got to where you are now. And so just let me say, it's a great honor of mine to have you on here and talking, because it's so weird when you have somebody's content that you've been watching for so long, and then one day you're able to just kind of sit down and have a conversation. Yeah. It's super surreal. So I appreciate you coming on the show.
I appreciate you having me. It's the kind of the same way in the inverse, because I make so much videos about streaming, but I don't do a whole lot of streaming myself. And so it's always interesting to like come on when people who do this like way more than I do and like see how they actually work, because I don't actually stream a whole lot of streaming.
You've been doing a lot of it lately. I saw you did a PC build stream a little while ago. You were playing Apex the last time that I popped in. And I have to ask, during the PC building stream, was it your first one ever?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So do you get plagued with people who try to critique every aspect of your build? Yeah. Okay. And it never fails.
And then I'll be like, I'm using this part because it was sent by so and so, and they're like, oh, you should have went with whatever. And it's just like, I just said I didn't But okay.
Yeah. You get somebody that comes in during the middle. It's like, okay, how'd you put your thermal paste on, bro?
Yeah.
Did you do a bead? Did you do an X? Did you do a spiral? I've learned to be able to deflect those, but I don't think I'll ever do a PC build on stream again. I've probably at this point have done 5, probably 6 total for myself, not including other ones. And every time it's just a fight. It's like, man, I just want to build and just hang out with people, and it turns into an argument almost every time.
Yeah, the big thing for me is it takes me like twice as long to do it because I keep stopping to make sure everything's shown on camera or to talk or whatever. And so a build that would take me like an hour to 2 hours would take me like 6 on stream.
Yep. That's the same thing too. It's like, oh, how's my camera? How's my lighting? How's my audio? What's going on with chat? Oh, we just got a raid. Oh, it's a sub. It's definitely an experience, but it's a fun experience for sure.
I haven't put it up yet, but I've upped my setup for the next future build stream because I did like 3 or 4 in a row as I was doing different projects. But I've now ceiling mounted my overhead camera. I've got a PVC pipe mounted up. I've been meaning to make a video on it, and then a little clamp that comes down so I can position exactly where I need it. And then in the corner, I ceiling dropped a fisheye lens that points out from the corner, just so I have like a wider view for when I'm messing with the case. So
nice. The place where you do your build streams, is that also in your common area?
Yes, it is where that little RGB magic is. I got a whole workbench back there.
What is shining back there? Is that the LifeX bar?
I've got 2 LifeX bulbs, and then the little changing colors is a PC case.
Oh, whoa!
It's got like a little RGB strip around the edges. It's pretty cool.
What case is it?
It's a Gamdius Talos P1. I think they always have weird names for their stuff, but
okay, interesting.
I reviewed it recently. Or,
nice.
I guess back in like February.
Which is recent for you, right? Yeah. Hello. As far as how often do you do something and then halfway through it realize I could have made a video on this probably
Every day.
every day, all the time,
and it's a double-edged sword because I have that realization, and so then I end up putting off things for ages because I want to do them on camera to some degree. And so even things I buy for myself that need to integrate into my setup will literally just like sit upstairs waiting on me to unbox for like 5 seconds of footage no one cares about in a video.
Oh man,
it's a bad habit to break myself of.
By the way, are you drinking anything spicy tonight?
Sunkissed, does that count?
It definitely counts. Is that a question? Sunkissed question mark?
Please sponsor me. Okay, thanks.
Here's another very important question. Is it soda or pop?
Soft drink?
Really?
I prefer soda. I feel weird saying soda because I never really say it out loud enough, because around here it's just a Coke.
Okay.
But I don't drink Coke, so I can't just like ask for a Coke, because then I would get a drink that I literally do not drink.
That's not what I ordered.
Yeah.
Do you not drink Coke just because of like a taste preference, or?
Yeah, I drink like 3 whole beverages total in my entire life. Water, Sunkist, Sprite, pretty much.
And that's it?
Sunny D sometimes.
Oh
not
my
even
Lord.
real orange juice.
Yeah, I don't know if that's real. So you just stick to like those 3?
Yeah, I mainly drink water. I drink a couple glasses of Sunkist today, unless I'm like out of the house, and then I'm probably drinking a ton more. But yeah.
Okay, I guess
pretty much my entire like high school to first year of college career, I drank no water and only Sunkist, and I'm just grateful I'm still alive.
Yeah, I mean, I was about to say you're probably better than 90% of content creators out there now, because
I used to be real bad about it.
There's a reason Hydrate Bot exists. It's because none of us are drinking enough water.
And so I always dual wield cups and have a glass of water here as well.
Okay. So then alcohol totally out of the question?
Yeah, I don't have a ton of reasoning, but at this point, like, I'm that picky about like liquids that I just don't want to wander into it.
Nope, that's totally fair. Totally fair.
Makes me very boring, but that's okay.
No, dude,
I
mean,
invited to like go out for drinks with like company contacts or whatever at special events, and then I'm just like, but I don't.
Sunkist, please.
Yeah.
Going back to you finding it hard to, like, if you start a project, you realize it could have been a video. It's something that vloggers talk a lot about. Is they'll save certain parts of their life, so it's able to be caught on camera. Do you feel that internal struggle is kind of detrimental to your mental health, or are you able to just be like, that's kind of whatever, I'll do something else later?
From a work perspective, yes, because it can affect, like, then I just keep piling on projects that I'm not picking up or like continuing because I don't feel like being on camera this day or week or year, and then I don't continue. You know, these projects remain unfinished, and that can stress me out or whatever. But for like day-to-day stuff, I don't struggle with it so much. I'm big into archiving memories and everything, so at family events or whatever, I'll always have a camera either taking pictures or video, but I don't worry about including that. Like, I used to try vlogging with my wife like for a couple of years, and it was just too much to keep up. Like, we did moving vlogs for my whole first move from my first apartment to my second apartment. It took me an entire year till we were basically moving apartments again before I actually edited and published those, and then I decided it wasn't worth it anymore. And so I don't worry about like keeping up with the normal like living kind of aspect for that anymore, which is nice. But in terms of products and stuff I have lying around that I haven't opened, those will pile up for months.
And then you'll just eventually get to them,
or sometimes not. I have stuff. There was a period in 2016. I call it the Amazon review extravaganza, because every company in the world was sending out free products to literally everyone in exchange for Amazon reviews before they cracked down. And I got sent a big pile of stuff, and then Amazon changed their reviews, and I decided I'd at least make videos out of them, and then I never did. And so I finally have been getting rid of most of it, but I had like an entire shelf that was like packed full of little like tripods and video things and whatever that I got sent for Amazon reviews that I just never opened 3 years later and was like, no, I'm good. I'm done.
I didn't even know that this era existed.
Yeah, it was a strange time for Amazon.
Do you think that we're still... I feel like I live and die by Amazon reviews, but at the same time, half of the time I'm scrolling through, say to myself, none of these seem right. And also the way that they put multiple products under one sell page so that all the reviews for multiple products, that has to be on purpose, right?
Oh yeah, and it drives me insane because it's supposed to be for color variations or like quantity variations. Like, you have the same product and you can get different ones. That way the reviews are of the same thing. But even like major companies will put like, here's my capture card and my video light and my green screen all on one product page, and then you look at the reviews and you don't have a clue what it's reviewing, and they can swap out the products, so you will have reviews for products that are never on that page anymore.
Right.
We've started on some products actually like putting in bold the specific like model that the review was bought from, like what they were actually reviewing, but it doesn't seem to be consistent or on all of them, or it's really weird.
And especially when like product name changes come around, like how many USB 3.0 things do you still see everywhere? Yep. God.
And I've been struggling with that too. Like, I have to have people help me find specific USB cables on Amazon because it will not show me them. Like, they'll be like, it's just on the front page of Amazon, bro. And I send them a screenshot. I'm like, it's not.
Yeah. What is the front page of Amazon anyways? I don't even know what it is. Oh, Christ.
I was searching for some longer cables for my sub 2R camera and a couple things like that when I was reviewing or moving my desk. And I was like, I need this specific cable in like 15 feet. And people were just like, they're everywhere. And I'm like, all it's giving me is USB 2 charge cables at 5 inches. That's not what I want.
It's crazy because USB was supposed to like unify the world.
Universal.
Yes, but it's so the exact opposite. It's less universal than USB 2 was.
Yep.
Or USB, I mean Type A, not USB 2 and USB 3. But yeah, the only USB-C devices that I've had so far are my sub 2R camera and like one random device. Like I've had a Pro Micro for a keyboard that said it's USB-C. My gaming PC that I purchased a year ago only had a single USB Type-C port. Streaming PC did not. So when I wanted to use the sub 2R with my streaming PC, I had to buy a PCI card for it. And like you have the compatibility of the PCI slot itself, the USB Type-C. Cables are not all the same. Some are charged, some are charging data. I thought we were going to leave that in the past, but it's so very apparent that we did not.
And you can still have USB 2 speed cables for USB-C. and USB 2 output. So I've been messing around with some updated phone reviews because up until recently I was on a micro USB phone still, and about most of the phones don't actually have the video out capabilities on USB-C. I got sent a gaming phone to review that was USB 2.0, so like it didn't have fast data transfer and it didn't have any video output, and it just standardize something, please. And now the USB 4 is going to be basically Thunderbolt 3, and
right. And by how long before that is even the standard across everything? It's going to take so long.
Yeah.
Christ, man.
Yeah.
How what's your experience been with the Sub 2R lately?
Been pretty good. They keep asking me about freezing issues, and I haven't had any, so I don't really know what to tell them because mine hasn't frozen. But it goes pretty well. Took a little while to get the configuration nailed in, and I have to have my lights on in exact configuration. But I set it and forget it for the most part. Just got to load up my profile, and it's been fairly easy for a little game streaming camera.
Okay, I don't want to ring out too much information because I know you're going to have a video on it soon. It's one of the in the next year or two. One of my favorite features about it is being able to save presets and load them in. And, you know, if I have a different lighting situation, I can load in a different preset. Do you know of any other cameras that do that?
There's a backwards way to do it with the Logitech cameras now. With their new software, because they have basically the move to Windows 10, which made your settings reset every time you reboot your computer. Their workaround for that is to make a software that loads profiles every time you boot up, basically. Yeah. And so you can set up different ones. But otherwise, outside of like real cameras, no, not really.
Okay. That's probably one of my favorite things. And I was like, I'm so surprised because I had to use third-party software to achieve that with my Logitech cameras. But even with the newest G Hub, I have to, if it loads up the software with the profile, it zooms into my face and then loads some super weird white balance and contrast. So I have to select another profile and then go back to my default profile in order for it to take. I guess it's better than not having any profile, but it's
and they've got the Logi Capture software now, which is totally different and totally unrelated to the Logitech camera settings and the old Logitech webcam software. It's all so disjointed, and
I think the same people that are in charge of naming USB is the same people who just deal with everything else regarding software, because nobody can ever seem to come to like a unified solution for something. And the way that webcams are now, especially in Logitech's world, they have not changed since I started streaming almost 6 years ago. Like it has been the exact same. And it's so crazy with the multi-million, dare I say, multi-billion-dollar industry that content creation and streaming has come to be. They haven't fixed any of that stuff yet. It's still like a secondhand thing.
I've always been real confused by that because I know that there's a big like push-pull between people aren't going to pay up after a certain point for a streaming webcam thing, but also there are plenty of people who want something that just works out of the box or whatever. But they've had the C920 since 2012, and they've put out nothing new other than the Brio, which has its own share of issues. It's worse in many ways.
I was actually really surprised that you included the Brio in your top 5 streaming cameras.
If you can get it set up right, it's for $200. You can't beat it with a real camera or anything like that value wise, because even the capture card for it would be $99. So like you can't get 100. You can get a camcorder. Like I even bought a camcorder at one point and run that into a capture card, but it's still going to be noisy, and like, you know, smaller camcorders are still kind of soft and noisy. Right. And so if you get it set up right, like I've seen people who set it up the first time and it looks amazing, and I'm like, how the hell did you do that? But for everybody else, it ends up looking pretty crappy.
I found that you need an insane amount of light to be able to make it look any sort of good. And also does yours ever get super hot? Okay. All right. Just making sure.
Well, and the problem I always run into is I can blast it with light. I have a big old light panel here. I'm only at like 50%. I can crank this up or whatever. But when you set to manual exposure, half the time, even if you crank it all the way down to like as low as it'll go, it'll still like keep the frame rate all messed up. And if you try to go to manual white balance, you can never get it to where auto is set, or you just turn blue. I had a whole like 6 months where every time I turned on manual white balance, I just turned blue, no matter what setting I
Oh
gave
my
it.
God. And that kind of
Like the
stuff.
software, just like there's always processing going on, even if you kick it into manual mode, and so you can never like fine tune it right. So there's some people that just seem to get lucky somehow, I guess. But
That's super interesting. Because most of the people that I've known to have that camera, I know way more people who have had negative things to say than positive. And so I would like to see these people who are getting a decent video signal out of their Brio.
it's
So I want to dig into your past a little bit because I want oh God. I'd like to hear about kind of your start, and I have a very minimal knowledge of kind of how you got started. I know that you've been doing this for a long ass time. You've been on YouTube for a super long time. I know you've dabbled in the gaming content and stuff. And so kind of like give me a little bit about kind of where you got started. I'd love to know how you first got into YouTube. Like, what was the thing that made you jump in? And then I'll just kind of branch out from there.
okay. So 12 years ago, 12 years ago, I actually got started on YouTube and Google Video, re-uploading clips from a service called Xfire, which was it was like an all-in-one chat solution game manager. It had, you could take screenshots and record clips. This was before Steam had like a desktop client. Like they had, I think, CSS on Steam, but it wasn't like what it is today.
Okay.
And it had server management for multiplayer games. It had a whole lot of stuff. It had a bunch of video recording clips. My little clan buddies or whatever in Call of Duty 4 and Halo Combat Evolved had a bunch of clips up there they wanted on YouTube, and no one had the technical expertise to pull them down from Xfire and re-upload them. And so that was kind of my job for a while. And then for a short period, I also spent that re-uploading Red versus Blue episodes, because at the time YouTube servers were so slow and ancient that anyone watching popular videos on a slow connection like couldn't load them, but they could load re-uploads of them. And so I did that for a little while on channels that thankfully no longer exist.
Roasting, you'd have some copyright on your hands.
Would have a lot of trouble there, and don't want none of that. And then from there, like, to me, that's all YouTube was like good for. Like, I saw it as like the micro content that people saw like Vine and Twitter videos for. Like, I was just like, oh, it's great for little clips or whatever. And this was 10 years before Vine. And then around like a few years later, that's when you started seeing the Naaackers and the Hutch and the Blame Truths and all the original Call of Duty YouTubers start to crop up. And I was like, hey, I want to do that. And bought me a capture card and spent the next 4 to 5 years trying to make gaming videos unsuccessfully. And eventually transitioned into tech, as I had started around 2013 making tutorials for the original OBS classic builds, the betas and things like that. And those were consistently what was doing best on my channel. And so spent a year dabbling in mouse reviews and gadget reviews and things like that. Kept doing well. So 2015, completely rebranded my channel, went all in on tech, and has followed from there. For live streaming, I was just kind of experimenting. I always had really crappy internet at home until college. And my first year of college, I went to the university library, and they had like, it was like 100 megabit up and down over the Wi-Fi or something, which isn't amazing. But for me, that was like blazing fast, dude.
Right,
And
next
so
level.
I just opened up. It was like, I don't think it was XSplit. It was probably like Flash Media Encoder or something, and just live streamed a completely no audio stream of me typing a paper for my university class.
What?
And I had a couple, yeah, because I just wanted to test it out. And this was, I think it was still Justin TV that I was streaming to.
Okay.
And I had a couple people who were friends with a really big Call of Duty YouTuber, Vicstar123. He still does something. He was at like a PUBG tournament I went to a couple years ago or something. But, he had like 100K subs at the time, which was like full-time amazing at 2011. And ended up doing a dual commentary with him and taking my channel I was focusing full-time on at the time to like 1,000 subscribers. And then I never posted Call of Duty again, so they never showed back up.
Oh, that's how that works.
Yeah. And so that was my first foray into like serious streaming. And then I've done some things off and on since then. Like in 2012, Control Freak sponsored me to do like a Halo tournament leading up to Halo 4's launch.
Whoa,
And
I didn't know that.
yeah, a couple weird things. Like I've always had, I live streamed my marriage proposal to my wife. That
No
was
shit.
interesting. It was in Minecraft. So yeah, that was, yeah.
Oh no.
So
Oh
I've always
my
had like
God.
an off and on weird relationship with live streaming, but I've never I did it full time spring 2017 before I made my OBS masterclass. I did it full time for about 4 months after I'd quit my job from my MCN because I had way more time all of a sudden. Got to affiliate and then got burned out and stopped streaming for a while again. But yeah.
Did you find it way easier to get burnt out on streaming than you did making YouTubes?
Yes.
Really? Why do you think that is?
Because, well, I was going a little overkill on the streams because I was pretty much streaming like 8 hours a day, multiple days a week.
Okay, yeah.
Like basically, I took my wife to work and then I'd come home and I'd just turn on Neo or Crash or whatever was on my PS4 at the time and just stream it until it was time to pick her up. And so it was being a little too performance and talking my voice out every time I streamed, and it was fun, and I built up a following and got to affiliate, and it was cool. Although affiliate was only introduced like right as I was getting burned out, so I didn't really like get a whole lot from it.
Okay.
But it was just I used to think greedily because I saw all the donations going around, like it would be so great to be a full-time streamer and have people, oil tycoon lords, show up and donate $20,000 to me just so I can wave at the camera.
Right.
And then I realized that I don't want to sit here for 4 to 8 hours every day performing on camera, when with YouTube, I can either batch it out and that's 4 to 8 hours a day and that covers me for like 3 weeks, or it's only like for 20 minutes at a time whenever I feel like it. And the rest of the work is still in my own like world and control and not performing for other people.
Right. I guess, let's say for like a 10-minute OBS video or like a 10-minute YouTube tech tutorial video, how many hours do you, holy shit. It's either gunshots or fireworks that are going off right now, and they're very loud.
Okay.
Yeah, it's popping off out there. Were you able to hear that?
No, I didn't.
I was about to say, I'm like, damn, it was really loud. How much time, hour-wise, and honest estimate, like how long do you think it takes you from script writing to recording to actually publishing for just like one 10-minute video?
Some of them can be, say, 6 hours. Some of them can be 36 hours. It depends on like how involved it is. Because a lot of my preferred style of tutorials, just because it keeps me the most interested, is I will go in blind. Like that was my very first like OBS tutorials and Vegas tutorials. Was I wanted, like, I had the excitement of making the video because I was learning for the first time, and I wanted to kind of share that because I learned very quickly, and so I can, you know, make a mistake once and then show you how to do it.
Right.
And so for some of them, if I still do it that style, I don't do it as much anymore, but I will just hit record and learn as I go and then edit it up or whatever. For a lot, if I script them out, that can take me a while, and then I'll end up putting it off forever and coming back to it and whatever. For outline ones, like tutorials themselves only take a couple hours of pre-production because I generally know what I'm going to talk about. I just need to outline the steps, and either I'm following along live on desktop recording or I'm just recording on camera bits and matching it to desktop recordings. For reviews, those can take a very long while. Like my recent gaming phone review, I spent like a week testing out games and using the little frame rate analyzer and all that stuff, figuring out exactly what I wanted to say. And then it took me a good few hours of just getting B-roll shots and editing it all and fighting with audio issues. And so
audio, isn't that your favorite?
Yeah. Especially my newer camera that I use has this wonderful feature called off-speed recording, in which for like high frame rate stuff, you can tell it to record like your project is 30 FPS, but you're recording at 60, and then it will actually record the video to a 30 FPS file, which is really handy for that. But when you accidentally enable it to be 5994 and then off speed to 60, you end up with audio drift that you can't correct for. And that whole video, and that was already my second or third take for the video, and so I just had to basically cover up the entire like camera part and just be like, I can't fix it at this point. I recorded it 2 or 3 times because I recorded a rough copy, didn't like it, recorded it again, microphone or my audio recorder decided my memory card wasn't fast enough and didn't record any audio. Third time, it had the off-speed thing. And then I spent like an hour and a half like trying to line up individual cuts of the audio for this like 20-minute long video. And eventually I reached a point I was like, there is no reason for me to keep working on this. I just got to release it and deal.
Yeah. And it's funny because that's probably one of the things that the viewer would not know happened on the back end.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, he didn't spend 20 hours to try to fix this audio and match it up to video.
Those are my favorite comments. Hey, you've never heard of the sync button, have you? I'm just like, oh, let me tell you.
I got a story for you there, bud. Oh man, these fireworks are so loud and they're so close. I can feel my floor vibrating. There goes another one. I'm actually kind of concerned that they're not fireworks because they feel like massive explosions.
Your whole neighborhood's just blowing up.
Pop, 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 pop. And like I said, being so close to Detroit, you never really know if it's a gunshot or if it's a firework. So starting up with YouTube, did you say that the OBS tutorials were kind of at the forefront of you transitioning into the tech side with your channel?
Yep.
Really?
Those were probably my first serious tech videos. Like I'd always made little things like how to just like super micro tutorials of how to do little things. But OBS was like the first thing I really was like, I should really make like a how-to video for this because no one was covering OBS at the time. I'd never even heard of it until I started making videos on it because I was using DX Story and Fraps and everyone's like, no, OBS is the new thing, man. That's what everybody should use. And so I started making some videos on it and it did really well. And like from like 2013 to 2015, my original beta OBS Studio OBS videos, like most of them had like 1 million views each. And at the time, my channel had like 15,000 subscribers. Like I had nothing, and those videos were like what was doing it. And then as I was like sort of transitioning, I started reaching out and getting like gaming mice reviews and headsets and they were terrible reviews, but I was practicing and building it up. And those videos would get a couple hundred views and have SEO over a long period of time. Whereas the gaming videos I was making was getting like 20 and then they were dead as soon as they were uploaded.
Right.
And eventually the writing was on the wall. Like if I want this to be sustainable, that's what I should focus on. And so that's where I switched the main channel. And then I have my previous channel that I had originally started like chasing the gaming content creator dream as my backup channel that I'm sort of like trying to soft launch this year and see how that goes.
Do you, when you made that transition from doing the gaming related stuff over to the tech, do you feel like you obviously you went in the direction of doing the gaming related content first. So that's kind of where your heart was. Do you feel like you've taken a step away from gaming, or do you still feel like you do it enough to where that part of your hunger is satisfied? Like you're able to do enough gaming here and there to be like, you know what, I'm okay not going in the direction of doing gaming content full time, but I'm still getting enough to where I'm happy.
No, I took a pretty big step back. Like it was actually getting to the point where the obligation to record everything I was playing, which still affects me even today. Like I will still always have Shadowplay running, capturing highlights that I'll never use. I have about 4 terabytes. I have now what I call a game vault, where I'm just basically archiving footage of every game that I play so that I could have like whenever I need to call it up, or if I want to do like a list video, it's always there. Super unhealthy probably, but like that thing going in the back of my head of being a gaming content creator where I have to record everything that I play got me pretty burnt out on games, like to the point where games were work. And I took a big step back whenever I made the switch for a little while, where I just like barely touched most games at all, other than like my staple like Halo 3, Call of Duty 4 kind of stuff for quite a while. And then it's been a struggle to really integrate it in ways that makes it feel like I'm doing gaming stuff again, which is why I'm trying to get it seems to be every spring like I try to live stream again. It was spring 2017 where I went full time. I tried it again spring last year, doing I streamed for like 3 weeks consistently this year spring and then stopped again. But that I've had the urge pretty strong like this season, and so that's why I'm trying to get the gaming channel going as its own thing. And I'm gonna start. I have like an event next week and then some other stuff, but I'm gonna start streaming consistently on Fridays. I think trying to do more gaming stuff and try to bring that back, because I got burnt out on that and burnt out on just like the gaming community needing to beat up on something about every topic, like
always
patches for the latest game. Like they're mad about everything, and that ruined my entire like enjoyment of Halo 4 when that launched. And that was kind of one of the breaking points, was I was like so stoked for Halo 4. I loved it at first. Like I put out this like glowing review. I was like, this is refreshing. It was great. I had a blast with it. And then the community just like, that was just like the tipping point for the Halo community, and they have like yet to recover. And I was just like, wow, that ruined the game for me. And I just need to stop being involved in these things.
Doesn't that suck how other people's perspectives and opinions can actually make you dislike a game you know you like?
Yeah. Dedicated fandoms for literally anything in the world are the worst.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And I know you like to have run-ins with the Linux community.
Oh, that's fun. That's fun. I need to schedule another one of those soon.
Dude, that is something I first of all, I don't understand Linux to the point to where I can make the assumption that it's not a suitable OS for full-time use, especially when it comes to being working in a productive environment. But goddamn, it really doesn't seem like it can. I mean, if it had the ability to do so, it would be like mainstream by now. After the past like decade, at least. I know it's been around for way longer, but it would have happened by now. If it was able to be used, it would have happened.
Yeah. And I'm not going to reveal who it was just to protect them because they reached out privately, but I had quite a few people who are in charge of creative things related to Linux who reached out to me privately and was like, hey, we edit on Macs. we edit in Premiere and Final Cut on Mac computers.
Oh man. Well, that about sums it up right there.
And it's one of those weird things where people like latch on to little details. Like everyone says Android or Linux is everywhere because Android, but actual like Linuxy people are like, Android is not Linux. Please stop saying that. And the same thing applies to the video production stuff in that for 3D rendering farms and like VFX stuff, those are all handled server side on Linux because Linux is great for server stuff. But the actual movie editing part is always done on Mac computers with Avid or Final Cut or Premiere. And the actual video editors basically never interface with a Linux system whatsoever.
Right.
But then everyone's like, no, every movie uses Linux. You have no excuse. I'm just like, but they don't edit on
Linux. And yeah, who's going to have the technical know-how to set them up for themselves?
Right. And even when they do, they have dedicated like Red Hat engineers assigned to their company to keep it running. YouTubers don't.
No. If we have to do everything ourselves,
fix my system for me.
Have you ever done any video editing on Mac OS, or have you primarily been on Windows?
I have not really. My only modern Mac is a 2013 MacBook Pro that I picked up last year for fun.
Okay.
And I've never had a modern Mac. I have a 2007 Mac Pro I also picked up last year. I was going to do a clickbaity video of like 4K editing on a 2007 Mac Pro, the big tower ones, but I ran into too many frustrations with it and it doesn't install the latest OS, and I've never really dealt with it a ton. I get the appeal of Final Cut, but since I can't natively use it very easily, like there's no
point to try and go about it. Yeah.
If I were chasing...
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if I were chasing like a dedicated editor career at some point, I'd have to pick it up and learn it, and that would be fine. But for my personal needs, there's no reason because I'm Windows everywhere or Linux in some places, despite what people may believe. Just not for video editing.
What do you use Linux for the most? Kind of like, do you use it in like a day-to-day?
Yes and no. I use it pretty much any side computer. I will use it for my main operating system. Like I prefer using it for like my day-to-day work, except for a lot of my work, it requires Windows. Like none of the devices I'm reviewing support Linux. None of the software I'm working on tutorials for support Linux. OBS is historically like really terrible at screen capturing most desktop environments in Linux. So there's like very little that my normal work could do, but typically my secondary laptops or whatever will always be running Linux and things like that. And I've had a couple servers going at one point and whatever, but it's always been just passive, like hobbyist stuff, just because my actual job, like even the videos that I show stuff, like if I show a normal tutorial for mainstream stuff on Linux, people are gonna be like, what the heck is this? I had a very themed up version of Windows at one point, and people kept wondering why I was saying Windows when it was Mac, and I'm just like, it's not Mac, but okay.
No matter how many times you say it out loud, you still can't convince some people.
I was like, here's the start menu. How'd you get the start menu on Mac?
Christ, that's what you get for trying to be creative.
Yep.
What shit, I totally just had a question. I lost it.
Sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. Screen capping on Linux. When you're doing those types of videos, are you just putting that through a capture card and capturing it that way?
That is
Okay.
the biggest question I get, because everyone knows they can't get that quality capturing in software, and they're like, how does your video look so good? And I was just like, capture card.
Capture card, bro. What? Okay, so I know you have like a massive spreadsheet regarding like
Yes.
all those capture cards and stuff. If money was not an option and you were to go out and tell somebody to buy a capture card for streaming, what would you tell them to buy?
If money wasn't an option, I'd say the Magewell 4K PCIe loop through plus. Their names are really stupid, but the Magewell PCIe 4K option is the best and most flexible for streaming stuff that you can buy, but it's like $800 or $900.
Woo! So
Yep.
I don't think I've heard of this card. Is it able to pass through at the same resolution and frame rate?
Yep. And it can do full 144 hertz capture or 240 hertz capture. I haven't tested 240 FPS capture because I don't have a 240 hertz monitor, but I frame counted, it can capture full 144 FPS for sure. And then it can pass through everything. It does 10-bit, it does HDR, which I can't. You have to like talk to them to get secret software to make HDR work, but it can capture HDR because OBS can't capture HDR, so it's hard to make that work. If you're just looking for like a normal person but expensive recommendation, then the Live Gamer 4K from AverMedia is my go-to at the moment.
Okay, and what's the reasoning with you putting that over the Elgato?
It supports full 444 RGB chroma subsampling, which gets you a little bit better color if you want to capture that, or it just looks better when you're scaling it down. It's the lowest latency capture card on the market pretty much at the moment that I have tested out of the like 30 something. And it originally was the only one that did HDR pass through and HDR capture and HDR down sampling, whatever it's called. Whereas the Elgato has been updated to do HDR down sampling, but it doesn't capture it. So it's more feature rich. It's usually $100 or more cheaper. It's got cool RGB. It's faster. And Elgato's 4K capture utility has not really caught up to what their old software was. And so software wise, it's kind of been weird. It's a great card. It's just more expensive. And for me, if you're wanting the best quality for spending that much, then you might as well get the AverMedia.
Okay. I don't feel that I've used the Elgato capture software because I've always been using OBS as long as I've been using capture cards. Is there anything that you've used the Elgato or the AverMedia software capture wise as opposed to using OBS?
Sometimes I'll use it for just dedicated recording because they will play a little nicer sometimes. For example, a recent discovery, whenever I was chasing all of that, the GPU allocation issues I've kind of exposed that were sort of fixed in the 1903 update of Windows 10, where like OBS can't maintain resource usage when you're streaming games. That doesn't affect AverMedia software. They reserve resource usage and your game frame rate will suffer. I have no clue why. I've never seen another program do that, but they wanted me to check, and sure enough, it will keep your 60 FPS.
Whoa.
And so in cases where I don't know that I can like quickly throw together an OBS config that will work and I just need a basic capture, I will sometimes use the dedicated app. I used to really like Elgato software because it, although they just recently updated their new software to do it as well, but you could name and sort your recordings. So I could be like, oh, I'm recording clips from this game and have it all sorted by game name and things like that instead of just random recording files from OBS. But otherwise, the only real use, like Elgato software can record and then send that out to OBS. So then you can record without overlays and still stream with overlays. So for some people who want to post boring videos of their live streams without any of the live stream elements, they can do that now. I still am against that on principle, but people want to do that. So it's an option.
I guess if you...
People want to turn their live streams into Let's Plays, except I promise you that is a boring video to watch.
There's only one person that I have successfully seen do that, and I think his name is Northern Lion. Matt Weenie in chat will correct me. I know that he kind of dictates his stream to be a certain way so that it can be uploaded to YouTube.
Right.
I guess if you wanted to create like a separate compilation video of just clips and stuff, And you wanted it to be just gameplay because maybe like you're super into the competitive shooting scene where the webcam really isn't as important and you just want it to be gameplay. I guess that's the only application I could see it useful, but I'm not really sure.
If you need a dedicated gameplay only like montage, that would work. But like for me, even though I prefer getting the high, like I'll freaking record my gameplay videos in ProRes, like I prefer getting the highest quality. But if I'm going to use a clip and it's from a stream or whatever, I'll still use the stream clip. That way it's a window in to be like, hey, go follow my stream.
Exactly.
Wink, wink.
Right.
But there's a couple uses, but the people who regularly ask for it in comments are just like, I want to turn it into a Let's Play and I can't. How do? And I'm just like, just don't. Please, just don't.
That kind of mirrors my thoughts when people ask how to stream to multiple platforms at one time.
Yes.
I'm like, I mean, yeah, you're in two places at once, but when you start having people that are talking in one chat and you're addressing them, what are people in the other chat going to think?
Close a stream so quickly.
Yeah.
Podcasts like this where you're not directly interacting with chat for most of it, or events like tournaments or whatever, it's great. It's the best way to reach the most people. But when you have 5 viewers in Twitch and 5 viewers in YouTube, and you're like, I'm reaching 10 people, and there's probably 2 of them that are watching on both platforms because they're weird like that, and then you're talking to one chat, and I can't see that chat that you're talking to because they're not in my chat, I'm like, what the hell is this? Bye. I'm like, I don't know who you're talking to. I don't feel engaged. I'm going to click off now. Granted, I have very weird relationships with stream content in the first place, but yeah.
What is okay? So other than that, what is one thing that will make you exit a stream so fast?
Pretty much just downtime in general. Like,
okay,
I have wanted the entire time he's been popular to figure out what the deal is with Ninja, and every time I tune into his stream, he's not paying attention to his stream and just like sitting typing something on his computer or walking off camera, just doing nothing. And now I'm curious because I used to watch him during the Halo Reach days, and I just was like curious how he is and what the hype is all about. Like, I want to be bought into like live streaming hype. Like, I want to be excited, but I don't have the patience nor the time to just like sit in a stream for 4 hours to get 30 seconds of excitement. Like, that's what videos are for me. Right. And so if it's a live stream where the person spends half their time just like chatting or whatever, or if they're just taking a break, like that will kill it for me. And most people feel that like, that's why viewership usually drops during breaks and whatever. And that's not anyone's fault. Like, you can't really change anything about the structure of your stream necessarily to avoid that. And that's just kind of me, but that's, I watch like 2 streamers ever, and that's pretty much it. And I don't even watch them consistently, but if I'm like, I really have nothing to watch, then I'll pull up like Shroud or Doc, because Shroud, I at least get constant gameplay and it's usually enjoyable if he's playing a game I enjoy. And Doc just has crazy production value, and it's cool to see like take ideas of what the hell he's doing these days with his green screens and shit.
Yep. His all the scenes and stuff that he created for Apex were pretty fucking cool. I must say.
He's always my like big example of production value does not equal image quality, because a stream always looks like total garbage. But the actual production and entertainment value he puts in means that it doesn't matter. Right. Meanwhile, my stream, I can pretty much say from everyone that stopped by and everything that if I stream Apex, it is the best looking Apex stream on the platform, but it's probably not entertaining anybody.
Why do you think that is? Just because of the parts that you're running?
Yeah, just I have a very, very optimized dual PC setup specifically. Like, it's on my list to make a video about it, even though it's been on my list for 2 months, but I had a very fine tune to see just how far I could push it. And no one else honestly should do that for their live stream unless they're making bukudo's money every month. Right.
Because yeah, you're running with an i9 in both, or just one?
No, the i9. Well, now I'm technically running an i9. It's not actually an i9, but the 9900K in my gaming PC, it's labeled i9, but it's an i7 basically.
Really?
It's the same socket as the 9700K and everything else. It's not actually HEDT. It doesn't have any more PCIe lanes. It's just faster. But I have that at 5 gigahertz in my new gaming PC. I just rebuilt it recently. It's the fastest computer I've ever built, will be the clickbaity title.
Okay.
It's got 4200 megahertz RAM. Pretty crazy.
Have you gotten that run stable?
Mm-hmm.
Real? Okay. How much time did you have to put in to make that stable?
None. I got sent from Asus an overclocking specific board that isn't available in the States yet. And so it had a built-in Der Bauer profile for hitting 5 gigahertz, and it worked out of the box. Stays completely cool. And then the RAM XMP profile was for 4200. So
Wow.
it was very expensive RAM for my main rig last year, and the motherboard only has 2 slots, so I'm only using 2 sticks of it. But it's been working so far. It didn't work in my main build. That was the funny part. Was I bought RAM that was 4200 megahertz. I couldn't get it past like 3600 in my main build.
Okay.
But in the gaming PC, it went right to it and had no problems.
So I was just doing a little bit of research because let's see, right now on my gaming PC, the only thing that's running is 2 Chrome windows, and I use OBS Studio to take the feed from my streaming PC and put it on my gaming PC monitor so that I can look at you on my main monitor instead of looking up at my screen up here.
Right.
I'm using 60% of my memory right now. I only have 16 gigs on my gaming PC.
Yep.
And so I'm like, okay, you know, the way that Windows is nowadays and how many things I have running, I'm always made fun of because of how many icons are in my system tray and
Yeah,
how many
I get
Chrome
those.
extensions.
I always
So
get comments about how many tabs I have.
yeah, it's because I need them. I don't do it for fun. I need them. This
Why
is
don't
why.
you close your tabs? Because I'm still using them.
Hello. So I started doing some research on RAM and like, okay, I'm seeing all of these crazy speeds in RAM. Are they really worth it? And I want you to correct me if I'm wrong, but for the most part, it seemed like for the like a marketing scheme to where like most people, like 90% of people are not going to be able to take advantage of speeds over the 2133. There are the extreme power users out there that are going to be able to take advantage of those speeds, and because they have, you know, they're working in a productive environment, and also the amount of, like you were just saying, you have a very specialized CPU and a very specialized motherboard to be able to handle that. And to where most motherboards are going to have a hard time, most consumer grade motherboards are going to have a hard time overclocking that RAM to those speeds and being stable. And the time needed to learn how to do that and keep it stable is also not worth the return. So what's your opinion on that?
For the most part, for Intel, you're correct. Ryzen can still benefit from faster speeds up to like 3600-ish.
Okay.
Past that point, I mean, it may even be like 3200, but like somewhere in the 3000 range, they do still benefit from the faster latency due to some madness of how Ryzen works at this point. Same with Threadripper. But for the most part, after that, like you don't need to get the fastest RAM in the world. Like I honestly don't think I've noticed a single improvement in my game performance from upgrading to the faster RAM. Like it was purely just because I could, because I had it. But yeah, up to, I would say to avoid the 2133, like I'd aim for 3200 if you can, and usually they're about the same price. But for the most part, capacity and lower latency timings are way more important than actual clock speed of the RAM.
Okay,
You know,
and that's
after
what
that
I don't
point.
know.
And those are hard. Like I don't know a ton about it's like cast latency and all that stuff. Like that's too much detail for me to care. Like at that point, I'm just like, I want to put it in and it work and me not worry about it.
Right.
But you can like compare numbers between sets or whatever and try to like narrow it down a little bit. But in my main production PC, mine only runs at 3200, and that's fine. Like that's fine. I have 128 gigs in my main machine, and just with Chrome, Discord, and this chat window open, I have 14 gigs used.
Oh my, see, that's what I'm talking about. God, it's insane how much memory is needed.
And I've
Good
got
Christ.
like 25 extensions, 100 tabs, 2 profiles of Chrome open at once.
Did you buy all that RAM at once?
Yes.
Oh, how much did that cost? I have to know.
$1,000.
Oh my God.
And this was before the prices went down.
Dude, yeah, because I was just looking at RAM prices earlier this week or earlier last week, and the price for 32 gigs is the same as I paid as for 16 gigs about a year and a half ago.
Yeah, no, I loaded my rigs up back in the DDR3 days with like tons of it, and then I got to this and I was just like, oh, I can't afford that. And then I finally saved up for the 64 gig kit for this machine, and it cost me so much money. And then like 6 months later, the prices finally started to go down. And then when I rebuilt this, I reached out to a company. I was like, there's no way I can, after having been burned by this, like I can't invest in RAM anymore. Can you send me? So I got someone to send me 2 64 gig kits so I could have 128 in this machine.
Please, God.
Yeah. Because I was reaching the point where I was running out of RAM in like my video projects. It was stupid.
And now when you talk about running out of RAM during production, is that during the exporting process or actually just working?
Just working mainly.
Wow.
It can happen during exporting too, because it'll use whatever it can to like fill up the buffer. But it'll happen during actual editing too. Especially if I'm doing a bunch of graphics and have After Effects integrating into Premiere at the same time, like they load up so much shared memory between the programs and stuff, it just gets bonkers. And I refuse to close all my Chrome tabs while I'm doing it. So,
what is your go-to video editing software at the moment?
still Premiere.
Okay. I see you trying Resolve so much. I see you trying so hard to make it work.
I use it more and more, especially since I shoot in cameras that shoot Blackmagic's own RAW format. Like I prefer it for color grading now. Like it's so much better for color grading, and I enjoy using it as an editor. Like it performs way better. Like just editing on the timeline, performance wise, like it blows Premiere out of the water. But there's so many little hiccups for my specific workflow. Like excuse me, it like doesn't like AAC audio from OBS or cameras or whatever. And since all of my recording is in OBS pretty much, it really causes me problems. And so I've tried to do most of my reviews where I'm doing all on camera stuff and Resolve as much as I can. But then all of my tutorial stuff or whatever, it's just so much quicker for me to just do it in Premiere and not worry about it.
There's so many, I don't use video editing software to the extent that you do, not even close. But there's so many little weird things that pop up in Premiere that I don't know how to fix. And the only thing that seems to fix it is either just closing it out completely or just reinstalling it. A lot of the times it comes down to my unfamiliarity with it. So it's like, oh, something just changed window wise. I don't know how to get it back. I have to reinstall it. I don't know what I'm doing. And that's happened probably once or twice. But so I can't remember. Did you say that you had used Final Cut Pro before or that you hadn't?
No, not really. I've tinkered with it once or twice, but I don't know that I've even edited a full video with it.
Okay.
I've used iMovie more than I have Final Cut.
Okay.
But
what's your general take on Mac OS as an operating system as a whole? Do you ever see a time where you could use that as a production station for good, or does it not really fit your style or like your workflow?
Software wise, it's fine. Like, and I used to, like in high school, like I was in love with the aesthetic. I was doing everything I could to mod my Windows to look like Mac. Like I always love it. And for laptops, it's like super stable and simple, and I enjoy it. But when it comes to like what you can do with it hardware wise, I don't know that I could see myself switching just because I can't run all these crazy configs that I do. Like that's what used to irk me. Like there was this phase of tech YouTube where everyone was locked into Final Cut and bragging about how quick it was to export on their MacBooks. And I was just like, but I don't want to edit on a laptop because it didn't even render as fast on their Mac Pros and their desktop Macs. Like it was only the MacBooks because of the way it integrates with the graphics card and stuff. And I was just like, so instead of editing with this massive multi-monitor configuration and all my gadgets to make it faster, I'd edit on a laptop because it renders 5 minutes faster. That doesn't make sense to me. And I don't see myself locking down to it. If I got frustrated enough, like sometimes I encounter these just bizarre tech issues that no one can solve, that no one should run into. And I reached the point where I was just like, sometimes I wish I just had a Mac that just worked, even though I'd encountered the same problems there. I would.
Right. Just different ones.
Sometimes I think for my pure production rig, I could run it if they released a proper Mac Pro again or something like that and be all right. Like I'd be fine, especially if I had a separate gaming rig, but I don't want to. It's always appealed to me, but I'm not a minimalist guy. So
right.
I want to break it open and tinker and mod it and run 12 monitors and 500 USB devices. And yeah.
That was actually going to be my next question is through your journey on both YouTube and Twitch, do you find that your desire to tinker, to take things apart, to enhance has decreased? Do you just want your stuff to work because you need it to work so that you can get paid to support your life? Or do you feel like getting into this and kind of branching out into different technologies has made it so you want to tinker more?
It makes me want to tinker more on the whole. But when it comes to like my main work machine, like I want to be able to set it and forget it And that's part of the reason I've run into so much frustration with trying to cool this stupid i9, because I don't want to have to keep worrying about it. Like, I want it to be rock solid stable. I don't ever want to have to open it or mess with it ever again, forever. And that's why I won't do like custom water cooling or whatever, because I've never done it before. I know I'll mess it up. I don't want to have to worry about that stress. I want to plug it in and it always work. And, and that's what I've always built, is I've built rigs that I leave running for like 2 years straight. And then I open them up and they're disgusting inside, but they did their purpose and that's fine. But with my other side rigs, like I still love tinkering and messing around and rebuilding other stuff. And so I'm totally cool doing that with everything else. But my main rig, like, I just want it to stay and just work.
Right. Because that's your entry, one, into the outside world. And two, this is how I get my work done. And this is how I get paid. So this thing needs to work. Yeah.
It's fun to mess around. But if I can't like do what I need to do for the day to get paid, then I'm screwed.
Right.
And like, I have a powerful enough gaming computer I could edit on, but the monitors aren't proper for color grading. None of my stuff's over. Like, it would be so much hassle to do it. I could do it in an emergency, but I just need it to just work. Just let it work.
So do you have a separate editing machine apart from your gaming PC? Oh, okay. I don't think I knew that.
Yeah. Can I switch cameras midstream here? Will this ruin
you can.
Everything?
Yeah. Oh, fuck.
Right, hang on. All right. Well, here. No, wrong direction.
I see a lady.
So, main machine runs all the i9 and everything, and then the glowy blue stuff is my gaming PC back there.
Got it. Okay. Massive case. I love the sticker job, by the way.
Yeah. I've here, let me switch back. I see
a Subway sticker.
A what?
I see a Subway sticker.
Yeah, that came off one of our sandwich bags.
Oh, that's awesome.
I used to always sticker bomb like everything, and I got so much crap for it on like YouTube comments when I first started doing YouTube, that for the longest time, like, I wouldn't do it on any public facing stuff. But like, I did my main production rig the first time I built my i9 rig, and the whole typical YouTuber tempered glass RGB case nonsense, and it was a nightmare. Like, it ran so much hotter and was so much of a problem that I ended up switching back to this and just saying, screw it. Like, this is what I like. This is what's going to show up. And so it's a lot of the stickers are peeling off. I have a clear coat. I'm going to clear coat over it so that it seals it up, but I've just not gotten around to it yet because I got to tape it off and mask it off and everything.
Oh, God. Yeah. For my next rig, I am very much contemplating going airflow over aesthetic, because right now I have two. These are the NZXT 340 Elites, so they've got the tempered side glass, no front panel ventilation whatsoever. There's a little vent in the top and the bottom, but chip's running hot. Like, I get notifications that my chip hits 80 or 90 degrees Celsius pretty often.
That's nothing.
Yeah, right, compared to what I think you see. And it's okay. Like, I have no ventilation in this room whatsoever. And when I do add ventilation, people call the cops because they think that I'm abusing my girlfriend because I scream a lot when I play video games. So it's a very rough. I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place right now. Yeah. And here's the other thing. I saw that conversation you got into recently about the argument between having computers on the desks and having the computers on the floor, and 100% side with your argument, as I have mine both. I don't necessarily, I don't have a problem with my fans appearing in my audio. I don't have a lot of desk hum. I've got a boom arm. I've got a shock mount. I don't have a problem with that. When my air conditioner
on an RE320 though, which cuts out most of that.
Right. Which I fucking love this mic so much. This is my favorite mic that I've ever had, and I don't see myself getting rid of it anytime. Have they come out with anything since the RE320 and the RE20?
They have the RE27ND, which is like an updated RE20, but it has like 500 switches on it to configure it, and I didn't like it as much. It's like very bright, and I like the more like bassy, mid-focused, and so I still have it lying around. It's also super gaudy. It's like bright silver. Bright gold.
God.
They have a gold one too. Yeah.
Bender dick.
A lot of people who can actually EQ and aren't tone deaf like I am like it a lot better because it's like a more modern capsule, because the RE20 has been out for decades. But it's still the 320 and the 20 are still what most people prefer for the boomy radio sound.
Yeah. Have you finally gotten your mic to a place where you're comfortable, or is it still an everyday battle?
It's still an everyday battle.
I think it sounds great.
Yeah, I just tweaked the settings again like last week, but I think this is where I'm going to leave it for now. But like, I'll think it sounds great, and then I'll pair it with my on-camera like shotgun microphone, and that's so much clearer, but it doesn't have as much bass. And there's like always a balance of like, do I want the bass, the epic voice, or do I want to be more clear and crisp? And I don't. At this point, I know most people don't care, so I just need to stop messing with it. But
right. And I got to that point eventually too. I was forever tweaking. I tweaked this mic for a year after I got it, and half of it was because I didn't know what I was doing. Right, I was learning like as I was tweaking. And even still to this day, I go back and I listen. I'm like, this could probably happen, and I could probably turn this up. But even like right now with Discord capping it at 96 kilobits per second, it still sounds really, really good. I think you have it balanced perfectly. I have no way, like, I don't have a diploma that says like I know what I'm talking about, but as somebody who has come to learn a lot about audio, I think you hit it at a good point.
The problem is with the way I have my setups positioned. Wow, my voice is, excuse me. I can't use the same mic for both setups. And so I originally had this sound and setup for the stream, but I got tired of fighting with my RE20 because this is the 320. I got tired of fighting with the RE20. And so my game streaming setup is now my swap out whatever mic I'm reviewing. And so I have that running into the Go XLR with the default like compression, and they don't have an EQ, but like compression and noise gate. So I have like the blue ember on there now. And so for my streams, I always end up sounding different, but it's at least like I'm always cycling mics, and that way I use them more. Because the problem is like most of my mic reviews, I use it for like an hour and have to judge based on that. Whereas this one, I'm using it regularly and run into more hiccups with them or whatever. And so
that's it. That's a great way to drive traffic both ways too. Like, hey, this new mic that I just got, I'm going to be testing out on stream today.
Yep.
I like that. Okay. Yeah. You know what? I saw the color of your pop filter, and it's the same color as the RE320. And do you feel that makes, whoa,
they're $60 and they have one that's black for the 320, but I did not feel it was worth getting another one just for it to match. Like, it bothers me so much, but it's not worth $60 for another one.
I have my mic exactly where I want it, except for the plosives. And even with it being on a 45-degree angle, and usually when I'm streaming, I'm about this far away, and it still picks up plosives. Like it is. Yeah. And I talk loud. I scream a lot, and that could be it too. I don't talk very softly. I have enunciated plosives. But that's probably something that I need to invest in to just get my mic exactly where I want it, and then some.
At least it's not that turtle beak mic I reviewed. Every sound that came out of my mouth was a plosive on that microphone.
Yeah, even when you were trying to minimalize your plosives, it was still coming out raunchy.
Like, here's how it's supposed to sound, and I could just hear the capsule just like rippling.
And there was what was the most recent mic that you did? The one point I remember you making is that it needed a shock mount really, really bad.
Yeah, that's this blue ember over here.
That's what it is. Okay. Yeah. Are you still pretty happy with that?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, it's a condenser mic, and I still recommend against condensers for streaming setups. But since you can set up a noise gate, like, it's all right. I'd prefer dynamics, and I'd prefer to recommend people about dynamics, but I can't argue with the extra warmth you can get out of it. The sound from the ember, it's like that I had direct wasn't amazing, but with a basic parametric EQ profile that I added, like, it sounded exactly how I wanted. Like, I didn't need to tweak it all. I was just like, oh, okay, that sounds great. And it's got just enough balance of like a little bit of warmth at the low end, and then being clear that it's pretty good. I also have their Baby Bottle SL that I need to review as well.
What is that?
They sound you'll have to look up a picture of it. It's the most bizarre looking microphone.
Baby Bottle Pop? What was it?
Baby Bottle SL. Baby Bottle Pop. Baby Bottle Pop. Baby Bottle
Yes, Pop. Okay, the Dr. Lupo mic.
Yeah.
Is this mic like $1,000?
Yep. I don't know how to review it because honestly, it doesn't sound that much different than the Ember, but
okay. All right, so they must have different iterations because the Baby Bottle is 400. Okay.
So I don't know which version. I have the SL version, but I don't know what that means in terms of pricing or anything off the top of my head, or how it's different in any way.
Right. Interesting. I have never heard of that. It looks so fragile at the neck. It
I just
scares me.
dropping it once and it's just breaking off and
Gone.
going.
Same thing every time I look at a Shure SM7B, that tiny little wire that comes out of the mic. I'm like, oh God, no, please.
Yeah. I'm like, I get the handiness of having it like loop up, but at the same time, like I feel like it's just going to break. And it's so much thinner than any other XLR cable I've used. It's just like
does it need to be that thin?
And it so awkwardly doesn't fit around like the screw that is on the shock mount for it. Like it just doesn't fit right. Like it just seems really weird to me.
Have you used that mic for an extensive period of time?
I borrowed it for like a week or two from Booth Junkies. Mike Delgadio, he does a bunch of mic reviews. He let me borrow his for a couple weeks.
Okay.
For the most part, I'm convinced that literally everyone who uses that mic sounds exactly the same. Like they sound exactly like, I can tell like from a mile away that you're using an SM7B. But Peter McKinnon used it in one video. Like he only ever used it once, and people complained about it being in the screen, or in the scene. And I think Potato Jet used it as well. And they sounded just like they did on any of their shotgun mics. Like it sounds like totally normal.
Right.
And so they're clearly not doing a whole lot of compression or whatever to it. But pretty much everyone who loads it up just like overcranks compression, and they all sound exactly the same, like they're on a just like closet podcast. And I'm super against recommending it just because I want some more like variety in how people sound in live streams.
Right. Absolutely.
I want to be that guy using some bizarre microphone that sounds different just so I don't sound like every other Markiplier and live streamer.
I remember seeing that blue microphone for the first time. I'm like, what is that hovering nipple by their mouth that they're talking into? Because like the light was hitting it a certain way to the only thing that was being able to be seen was a tiny little capsule. I'm like, what the is that little thing? It ended up being the microphone.
Yeah. Also, to everybody in chat recommending the Procaster, fantastic mic for the price. I used that for a couple years.
My buddy, Mr. Vans, man. Vans, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm 99% sure that I sent you both Epos video and Podcastage video on the Procaster. I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, this is such an underrated mic for such a great price. Gotta have it. How Booth Junkie seems like the most warm-hearted teddy bear of a dude on video. Is he that cuddly on like one-on-one as he is on his videos?
Yeah, he's pretty nice. He just totally welcoming, which was like, yeah, man, I let him borrow, I think, my 320, and so he could do like a three-way with the different RE mics, and he let me borrow the SM7B, and he's just super nice and happy to help people.
Love people like that. Meeting those kind of people, especially in this world, is such like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
So, did I see that you have 2 Go XLRs now?
I do. The second one is hooked up but not like configured yet because I'm still finishing off that room. But I've got one for my game streaming setup here, and then I've got one for in my retro game room that you saw me finishing up. That's a totally separate streaming setup. And I had like a tiny little mixer, and someone had sent me a little baby channel strip to hook up to it, and I was gonna try that, and I really wasn't looking forward to it. And after using the Go XLR, I was like, I know exactly how to set this up the way I want it up there. So I have that. I'm going to have that going with my Audio Technica BPHS headset, HS1 or whatever.
I do love that.
It's pretty good. I loved how it sounded with the DBX 286S. I had that. That was what I was using to stream for whenever I went full time for a few months when I got affiliate. I hate the headphones on it, and so I may end up changing setups for that room at some point because I got third-party pads for it that make them nice and thick. Although everything's covered in cat hair at this point, so I really need to clean it up before I use it. But
cat life
for what you're getting of like a broadcast headset, like the sound and stuff, like it's pretty crazy for having it right there, and then I don't got to worry about background noise pointing, because every time I point shotgun mics at me in these setups, like I want to be the person that uses them, but I get so many reflections off the monitors and TVs, like it sounds super tinny to me, and I don't like it. And so I tried using that for like a week in videos because people kept complaining about my RE20 configuration. And I was like, fine, I'll use this. And people were like, yay, it's great. And I'm like, it sounds horrible. No. And I went back to my 320.
The only person that I have seen get a shotgun mic working the way that it should and sounding great. Do you remember the streamer Duck Sauce?
Sounds familiar.
Okay, he actually now is he does voice acting work, and he doesn't
nice.
stream anymore. He streamed full time for a super long time, and he had a shotgun mic, but he had every inch of his walls covered in soundproofing foam. And obviously he just had an amazing voice to begin with. But I remember seeing that microphone for the first time, and me being uneducated was like, that's the mic I'm gonna get one day. And then I realized, oh wait, you have to have a voice before you can sound like that.
And like I've seen quite a few people who set them up on like a mic arm like this and put it in their face. But if I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna use the dynamic mics I already have, not those.
Right.
Like I wanted it set up like out of frame or something, not because that's another thing people for whatever reason care about, is that they can see the microphone. They're like, the microphone's not supposed to be in frame, and I'm like, that's literally how these are supposed to be used.
Like,
If
what?
you put it out of frame, it sounds horrible.
Right. And that's
ESPN shows. Like there's still ESPN shows with the RE20s like right in their faces that are on like a desk, because that's the best way they can do it, I guess. And it's just like, you don't put these off camera, then it sounds like ass.
right. And then especially with gamers and streamers, you have all of the noises that happen in this periph that, yeah, a shotgun mic far away probably would be great if you were doing a talk show and you're not clicking all day.
Or moving, or if you're the game grump sitting on a couch where you're only using controllers and you're on a soft surface like that, I'm pretty sure they use those. It's fine. But that audio quality, how to fix your audio quality video was so cathartic, because for the longest time I just wanted to smart alecky respond to people. They're like, I put my microphone on my desk and it's picking up all my keyboard sounds. How do I stop that? Put your microphone up against your mouth, not your keyboard. But I don't want to do that.
I can't see.
Where do you think your microphone's getting the audio from? Like,
right.
stop putting your microphone at your keyboard.
I used to be pretty diligent about going onto the Twitch subreddit and offering technical support to people that were in need.
That is a battle I never fought. As much as that would have been good for like my brand or like promoting that I make helpful, I never.
I haven't done it in a while. And when I do it, I enjoy it because I enjoy helping people. But at the same time, I do not recommend anybody go to that subreddit for anything. Like, not even a simple question like, when is the next emote slot getting unlocked? Just don't go there. Just don't.
I get tagged in threads a lot of people like, I guess, wanting me to like link my videos because they're like, /u/EposVox has a video on this or whatever, and I don't even respond to them. I'm like, people ignore the advice anyway, or just say I'm wrong, and I'm not gonna do that.
However, the only advice I know people don't ignore for a fact is your video on NDI. I have probably linked that video to hundreds of people, and again, kudos to you. That's the same video that I used to learn NDI for my setup today. So thank you, sir.
I need to make an updated one. That one was I was finishing my masterclass and I was like, wow, this is a new thing. I need to include this. And it was very rushed. I need to make a new one.
Do you use NDI in your setup at all right now?
For some stuff, like if I need to send like from I have a separate streaming computer for my workbench PC building setup back there. So if I need to send stuff between there, or I have a cat cam pointed down at our cat tree, so it's only connected to, I guess, my main computer at this point. So if I need it included in other streams, I'll NDI that over, or like for specific sources, but I don't use it for full streaming at the moment.
Okay.
It's just easier to do capture cards for me at the moment.
Have you gotten into any wireless NDI signal sending, like trying to use your phone as an NDI cam? Have you been successful in that?
So I am way overdue on videos for the Bird Dog Studio and the NewTek Connect Spark. Those are the two main hardware wireless options. They're like $500 and way out of the budget of most streamers, but for like actual live productions, these things are really cool. And this one specifically, the Bird Dog, has a really stupid name. It has some of the fastest latency out of any capture card I tested. Like I ran the latency tester into this over NDI, and it had almost as fast latency as some of the faster capture cards. It's really cool. Granted, I have a fast wired network, and not everybody will. But some of it's pretty cool. Some of it's not. The phone stuff is terrible on every platform. I've been meaning to try it because I've been on a budget phone for a long time. I've been on the Moto X4 and it runs everything terribly and has a terrible camera in general. I finally upgraded to a Pixel 2, as we talked about with my IG stories and things like that. So I've been meaning to try it again on something with a little more horsepower, but even on people's Note 8s and Note 10s and whatever, like everyone tells me it looks like ass. Like something about how it has to get the camera signal on Android has always been terrible.
Okay.
And so and that goes back to the Snapchat days where Snapchat could only capture pictures by taking a screenshot of the camera app that it ran like behind the scenes. And something about how apps access cameras on Android just doesn't work. But new NDI, even if it looks good, it's so desynced that it's like useless. Like
Right.
I had a good session where I guess I had a particularly good signal for that time. The quality looked all right, but it was like a terribly dubbed like Godzilla movie where I was just like, Godzilla!
Yeah.
It was just not worth it.
I did a cooking stream with a I wore a helmet and I put a GoPro phone mount on the front of the helmet, and then I sent NDI back to my streaming PC.
Yeah.
It was great for the first half an hour, and then after that the signal just started to get more and more choppy, and by the end of it, audio was still going, but the video was just stuttering every couple seconds, and I haven't tried it again since.
Yeah. And if you're using audio separately and you're not having your mouth on camera that people can tell is out of sync, then it's fine-ish. Like the quality still is amazing, but it's finest. But if you're doing like a real production and have a budget, the hardware options, this one's only wired. The Naaackers one, who actually makes NDI, the Connect Spark, that one isn't true NDI. It's what they call NDI HX, which is basically H.264 sent over NDI. It's really clever though.
Oh,
but it's wireless and it works really well. I used that for the first of my like 3 or 4 PC building streams I did, because I had my big Ursa camera. I was doing B-roll, and when I was shooting B-roll, I didn't want people just awkwardly like looking at me using the camera. So I had that connected to the output, so they had a wireless view of what I was shooting the B-roll of, and that worked out perfectly. That was great.
that's awesome. That's super.
so
Yeah, that is clever. I like that.
That's totally over wireless, whereas this is over Ethernet. But this one, which again, super expensive, out of most streamers' budget, but it is bi-directional and it has HDMI and SDI. So you can have where you send HDMI input over your network to OBS or whatever, or to their TriCaster units, and then you can send a separate NDI signal back through to one of the outputs to go to a monitor, so you can see like the total production feed at the same time. And then they even have a comm system built into where you can communicate with like the directors and stuff through the system, and it doesn't go into your stream feed or anything. It's pretty crazy, and it's honestly enough over my head that I keep putting off the review because there's just so much to cover. I don't do like mainstream production stuff at this point. So
do you find that happening often, to where you get a hold of a product, whether it's by choice or by chance, you're like, whoa, this is super involved?
It doesn't happen a ton. It will happen in situations like this. Like I had been communicating through a Facebook group that the main guy from the company that makes these, I've been communicating with this guy for like a year trying to get a hold of one for review. I honestly wanted one to keep so I could use it for my own setup, and I don't get to keep this, although I've had it for like 3 months, so whatever. And so at that point I felt obligated to finally go through with it, and then realized once I got it how crazy it actually was. Because to me, I was just like, oh, a dedicated NDI box instead of a computer. That sounds great. And then I'm like, there's so much to it. And I am compulsive. I have to cover everything that it can do, to the extent that in order to cover this fully, I actually requested a demo from Naaackers of their full TriCaster broadcast box, with like the video, the little T-bar switcher and all of that stuff. It was right before NAB. So I had it for literally like 3 days, but just so I could show in the like native environment how it was working. And for the most part, I only had a couple captures and like cell phone footage of it working, but just so I could have that element included. But the only other real product I can think of that I've had this kind of experience with was the RME Babyface Pro interface. I got a loaner of that back in 2016 when I was still a little newer to audio hardware. I had my full mixer rack setup going, but like I didn't have a whole lot of advanced digital experience. And it's a completely digital interface. Like all the IO is mapped all crazy. And honestly, I couldn't cover most of what it did because I didn't have the extra hardware to like pair with it. And I was just like, this thing does everything. But yeah, but that was one of the only other instances where it was like truly over my head that like I couldn't really package well enough to do a whole lot with.
Okay.
And most of that's by design. Like I will say no to crazy. Like I've gotten offered a couple 3D printers, and at some point I'll do it just because I want the convenience of having one, but I don't want to have to cover it because that's not my scene, and that's a lot to try to digest to fit into a review. But for the most part, I try to go with what's in my wheelhouse. And if it is a challenge, it's a challenge for wanting to learn. Like my big Cine camera I bought, that was a big learning curve, but that's something that helps my skill set and what I want to learn, not I need to learn this within a month for a review and then send it back and waste my time.
That's actually kind of nice that you can learn and produce at your own pace, and as long as you have some sort of revenue that's coming in, you can kind of supplement your revenue with things that you know that you are familiar with, but at the same time you can grab these other products and learn and like further yourself in that realm while you're still kind of, so you're basically almost getting paid to learn, which is, if you can get in a situation like that, that's freaking awesome.
That was what I wanted my dream job to be, basically. Playing with toys.
Absolutely. Might I say that building up the courage to tell you that your old phone's Instagram stories were bad. I typed that tweet out and I'm like, I really don't want to say this, but I also don't want to be the dude that never tells somebody when something's fucked up. Because what if nobody ever tells you that it was fucked up, right? But you obviously already had people telling you.
Well, I had a couple people telling me, but I didn't take it too seriously because every time I looked at specific examples, it didn't honestly look that bad. The big thing that made it worse was like anytime, like I was trying to do a couple Instagram live streams and it always went horribly. Like it was always like macro blocked to hell and desynced. Yeah. And I just assumed that was Instagram because like it shouldn't be that complicated to run like a tiny, like it's a super low res video feed that they do for streams anyway. Like
right.
It shouldn't be that hard. And honestly, I switched to the Pixel 2 XL. I had some Discord Patreon people help me make a jump to it. We ended up going with a brand new one because like they could cover the extra for it or whatever. And the camera is great, but in some situations, like I'm not blown away by the video quality compared to it. Like I'm clearly losing all of the extra grain and noise that was in the video from my old phone. And so that's nice. And for Instagram stories, it's been better. But for the most part, like I still run into issues with it and everyone's just like, it's an amazing camera. And I guess my standards are so high at this point, like whatever. But
you've played with a lot of toys.
Like magic at this point. But I have noticed I don't get the complaints anymore. So I'll just roll with it for now. But yeah, having someone whose opinion I at least valued a little bit more say something was just like, okay, I should take it a little more seriously, I guess. And you know, it was supposed to be the experience for me. Like I wanted to make a video of like using a budget phone for it's been like 9 months now. And I'm probably never going to get to that video, but that was what I wanted from it. And I just, you know, I couldn't justify the budget for like the newest phone. And I wanted to like make a point of that because that's expected of tech tubers to have 10 iPhones and the Galaxy Fold that isn't released anymore and all of that. And I'm not that person. The funny part is we ended up landing this the same day that this arrived. I got a gaming phone for review that's pretty much just as good. And then, I was in contact with a cell phone carrier to get me a loaner unit. It was supposed to be a keeper unit for me to make tutorials of before this actually worked out. And they ended up getting back to me, but they only wanted to send me like a 30-day loaner or whatever. But it was like, as soon as I finally worked it out, after spending almost an entire year without a normal, like high-end phone, suddenly everyone's just like, here's a phone. And I'm just like, well, this sucks.
God damn it.
Yeah. Because last year I had the Huawei Mate 10 Pro. That phone was incredible. That was my favorite phone in the world. The battery lasted like all week. It had a great camera. It played games well. And I specifically told them in my email, hey, I need a phone that I can keep to make tutorials and cell phone related content because I can't really make any and I needed to have screen capture out. And the Mate 10 Pro seems to be exactly what I need. I don't think I had the Pro. I think they actually just sent me the normal Mate 10, but whichever. And they were like, it's on its way to you. And I was like, great. And then when I got it, it had a shipping label with instructions to send it back within 7 days. Oh. And I just kind of wrote back to them and I was like, excuse me. Hi. I said I needed to keep this for like long-term things. Can we still arrange that? Because I can't even review it within 7 days. Nevertheless, like do what I wanted to do with it. Like I didn't even necessarily want to review it. I just wanted to make like tutorials and stuff. And they said, keep it for as long as I need. So I kept it for about 6 months, and then they eventually were like, hey, we need that back. And I was like, oh. And that was at the point where my Note 5, which was my actual contract phone, or it's not contract, but the like pay it on your bill phone.
Right.
The battery is just like useless at this point. And I was just like, that really sucks. And so they had the Amazon day sale in July or whatever for the Moto X4 for like $200. And I was just like, I'll go with that. And that's what I stuck with until this month, I guess.
Woo! Did you feel inconvenienced in your life by having like a budget phone, or did it not really bother you that much?
Never noticed other than the camera. Okay. Now, there are plenty of older and more budget, because this was still like a $400 new phone, the Moto X4. Like it wasn't the cheapest phone. It's budget by like today's standards, but not, my budget.
Right.
And so there are plenty of cheaper and lower end ones that I would struggle with. And there were some occasions where, the performance would not be great. When I got the Android Pie update, which I was surprised to get in the first place, I had to turn off my lock screen because the lock screen interface would literally crash and I could not get into my phone until I restarted it, or it would take like 5 minutes to unlock. Up until that point, it was perfect. Once I got the Pi update, it was functionally useless. That was the point when I started posting and I was like, I really need a new phone because I can't do this anymore.
Oh my
Up
Lord.
Until that point, it was fine up until that point. But once I got the Pi update, like I had to turn off the lock screen because the operating system just like stopped.
Oh God. Well, speaking of operating system updates, I heard you mention Windows 1903. Have you updated on both your gaming and your production machine?
Only gaming because it's on Insider. I forgot it was on Insider, but it updated itself. I have not on my production PC. I've been waiting for it to come, but I always have flash drives and SD cards and everything, and that's what's keeping it from installing on most machines. So it hasn't even prompted me, and that's probably why. And for some people, they're even like having to turn off their like internal drives with extra letters, and I'm not doing that. So it might be a while before I get the update on my main machine.
Whoa. Okay, wait. So having an SD card reader plugged into the computer was flagging it?
Having a USB drive of any sort that has a drive letter in Explorer, it will tell you to unplug it or you can't install the update because something in the and this was a problem with the Insider builds and they just never fixed it. It will something about, and this happened with 1803 as well, where it would like start mapping people's recovery partitions and then spamming them with your drive is full.
Right.
There's a similar thing where it's like, whenever it does the upgrade process, it screws with your drive letters. And so they're just telling people to unplug stuff so it doesn't have to worry about that. And so it's literally just not delivering it to people with drive letters installed. And if you manually update it or try to update it, it'll be like, nope, don't do it. And then supposedly Easy Anti-Cheat, which is like used in Apex, and then BattleEye are preventing it from installing as well. Again, with the Insider build on my gaming PC, it installed on its own. Like I had no clue it happened. It just showed up. But some people are having to uninstall those as well.
Oh my God. And I thought it couldn't be any more shit show.
Ryzen isn't even installing it either. I haven't bothered looking into that because I'm tired of the drama of the updates, but apparently Ryzen machines are just having the update disabled as well now.
Interesting.
And keep in mind, 1903 is supposed to be March's update.
Right. And yeah, 1809 was what? October's?
Yep. November by the time it was actually functional.
As somebody who relies heavily on Windows, this scares me. This absolutely terrifies me. And especially because like I rely on drive letters and lots of apps rely on those UNC paths in order to map. Like OBS is nothing but paths to certain parts of your hard drive. And I'm considering a operating system reinstall on my gaming PC because of all these weird problems I've been having. And have you ever used Resilio Sync, formerly BitTorrent Sync?
I think I looked into it when it was BitTorrent Sync and I like got sent a BitTorrent Sync t-shirt, but I don't think I've really used it for anything. I don't remember why I got sent it. It was like a Twitter competition or something.
I'm fucking jealous.
I still have it. It was like protecting you from the NSA or something goofy on it.
So that's what I
really
use. Okay, I live and die by it. I use it to sync all of my files between my gaming and streaming PC. So when I'm editing an overlay on my gaming PC, I can save the PNG and then it syncs it over and it'll automatically populate in OBS once it's updated. Something that I've been meaning to kind of do a video about, but super awesome product. And where the shit was I going with this? Oh, so one of those things is I have all of those particular folder paths. That's like, these are videos, these are audio files. Right. As soon as I reformat my gaming PC, I'm going to have to remap all. And there's a pretty good chance that all of my connections in OBS to audio overlays, videos, they're all going to be broken. And that also terrifies me.
Reinstalls of at least my main machine are like like a full week of downtime of like prepping for it, getting everything, like I'll like make lists of everything I've installed, try to back up all my configurations. I always miss some. Yep. Reinstalling everything, configuring everything again, and then like 2 to 3 weeks of dealing with like finding little customizations. They're like auto hotkey scripts that I forgot about, and it took all of 2017 for 1709. 1709 would not install on my computer, and that was when they were being super aggressive about trying to force it, to the extent that I had one day where it tried to forcibly install the full update. Like as soon as I rebooted, it booted into the updater and all of that 5 times in one day for like 6 to 8 months. But I did not want the downtime of reinstalling it. It took me like 6 months of dealing with that before I finally reinstalled fresh with 1709.
Jesus.
But it was every day. It was installing it multiple times a day and failing. And it was one of those weird things where it was like some random driver or drive letter or something it didn't like. It told it couldn't install.
Right. Good God. As far as, man, I'm just, my thoughts are coming and going tonight. I have a thing, and then I'm like, I'm trying to not be so concerned about what I want to say, but also trying to listen to what you're saying. And then I get too involved in what you're saying, and then what I want to think about is completely gone.
That's what happens when I talk too much.
Yeah. No, I very much prefer guests to talk too much. As far as Windows updates, have you had as much of a problem with audio, like every other update just messing up audio things?
I haven't. I know that's like a super common issue, but I don't use any of the virtual audio cable or voice meter or any of that stuff. And that seems to be what messes people up the most. But like, I've never even had it. I think at one point in time within the past like 5 years, it like reset the frequency settings of one of my audio devices to like 1300 kilohertz, and it sounded like I was on AM radio or something. Right. It was a really cool effect. And I specifically, I have this little Behringer interface where it has some sort of hardware limiter built in so that it doesn't clip too aggressively on hardware. And so I will take a little Samson Q2U. I'll have to send you the audio clip if I can find it, and crank it to 100% gain, and then set it to like whatever the lowest frequency in Windows is, and you get the perfect AM radio like sports broadcast sound effect.
Nice.
And it is the most perfect sound in the world. But I know I'm killing the interface, which is why I only do it on there. And I only discovered that because that happened in Windows. But that's like the only time it ever happens. Even with my mixer has like 12 different audio devices in Windows. Those never, like, sometimes I'll have to like make sure they're still there or switch USB ports, but I think that's just my computer. Like, I've never had any real audio issues with it.
Okay.
Like ever. Like, it's really, it's always weird when people have issues. And the same thing when it was like disabling permissions for everyone's mic to go through to apps. Like, for whatever reason, it's just never been a problem for me. I have problems with literally everything else, but
interesting. It's also crazy with, I'm sure you're the same way. I have so many things offloaded onto other drives so that OS reinstalls can be easier. But as somebody who works in production, as you know, there's just so many little things that get missed.
And that also makes it harder for like whenever you reload into your new version and like permissions don't want to work, and like random programs will still make your library folder. So I'll end up with like 2 different desktop folders, and then Windows will get confused as to which one to go to. And the multiple switching library locations is, for whatever reason, very difficult for Windows 7, 8, and 10, even though it was perfectly fine in XP.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they like, I don't. It probably got too difficult in the lab, and they said, we're just going to leave this broken, and we're going to focus on other things like Metro UI.
Yeah, UWP apps, those are the future, man.
Yeah, dude.
Now they're not.
Oh, they're dead.
It's Chromium.
Dude, have you used the new Edge that's built on Chromium?
I've been meaning to download it.
Okay,
but I haven't yet.
It's pretty cool. It looks like it was drawn in an Etch-a-Sketch, but it works pretty well. It has a weird, they tried to go for like the iOS like flat UI, but with the least amount of colors possible. And so it looks like somebody took like a stick and was drawing in sand when it came to the design. But imported a lot of settings right away. It was quick. I've always found Edge useful for just viewing and editing PDFs since they added that feature in 1809. So I enjoy Edge for certain things. I don't use it as a primary browser because I'm so dependent on the extensions that I use. Who knows? I could switch over. The amount of memory and CPU usage with Chrome lately has been insane.
And if they get it, which I'm fairly confident they will, but once it's at a point where you can bring over your Chrome extensions, like someone will have a mod for it, or Microsoft will finally just be like, yeah, it's fine. Once they have that set up and I can literally just clone my Chrome setup into it, I'm fairly certain I'll switch full time unless it's just like notably slower. Because the integration with the timeline stuff in Windows 10 and not having to use Chrome to sync it all up, to be able to just use Windows to sync it all up, would make my life so much easier. And so I'm quite excited for it, but I haven't had a chance to actually test it out yet. But as long as I can, that was a big issue whenever I wanted to test out Vivaldi, I think it was.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, this new UI is great, but all of my functionality is over in Chrome. And the same thing with Firefox. Like, okay, it's supposedly less memory hoggy, but all of my stuff's over here, so I'll never find out.
Right. Yeah. Because once you add all of those things, the memory will probably get hogged up anyways.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And that's what I always found funny about people saying that Chrome's so hoggy. Like, I'm pretty sure if you just use a vanilla Chrome browser, like, it's probably fine.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
No one uses a vanilla Chrome browser because that defeats the point of using Chrome.
Right. I actually took a picture. My girlfriend built a new streaming PC. It's her first streaming PC ever. She's super fucking pumped. Installed fresh version of Windows 10, and I opened up the resource monitor and I actually took a picture because CPU, RAM, and hard drive were all at 0 or 1% usage. And I'm
You'll
like,
never see this again.
You will never see this again. Click. And and even with Chrome installed running vanilla, totally bare. But I knew that would never happen again. I have one more quick topic I wanted to touch on. I don't want to keep you for too long, and then we'll jump over into the Q&A. I was 100% serious on your GoXLR video release tweet about you selling me on that signature mixer. Because as you know, I have a mess of audio business over here. And it wasn't until some of the features that you touched on with that mixer in the GoXLR video that I'm like, you know what? This is the one device that I've seen lately that could maybe do everything that I need to do it in the exact way that I want it to happen.
It took me forever to find it, but I finally found, that was my dream mixer, and I finally found it.
And you're still using it to this day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's what I use for my main setup, and I just have the GoXLR run bidirectionally through it.
Okay.
My only complaint about it, compared to the old Behringers and stuff I was using, is it doesn't have a dedicated solo headphone mix like the Behringers did. The Behringers had the solo button where you could control just what went to your headphones. This doesn't have it. So you only hear the master mix basically, which is a minor annoyance. I've worked around it.
Okay.
With some of my other needs that could have been a deal breaker. But that's that and the individual USB devices are only stereo pairs instead of mono. But for the most part, that's fine. Like VoIP calls down mix it to mono. So as long as you're not having mic echo from like two mics running into it, you're fine. And then it's all the USB stuff is pre-fader. So it's complicated, but everything is a separate input. Everything's a separate output. You have 1 through 12 as your inputs and 1 through 12 as your outputs. You can route it however you want. It's freaking great. I can bring in my gaming PC as its own USB device, and that's just freaking cool. And especially with the GoXLR hooked up to it. So I have the line out of the GoXLR, which has the GoXLR's mix. And so I have all the separate USB devices that the GoXLR registers on the gaming PC. And then the final mix comes in as its own device in Windows on my main PC. And so that's all taken care of. And then I have the secondary group output of the mixer run back into the GoXLR. So anything that isn't already in the GoXLR on my mainstream setup can go back into it for me to hear, or for it to go to the voice chat or whatever I want to do. And
okay.
So it's the only mixer under like $1,000 I've found that does this, that isn't there's like the Behringer X Air stuff, but those are all digital mixers with like iPads. They're not actual like mixers.
Right.
And so it's the only one I've found that does this. And it took me forever to even confirm that it does it, because everyone says every mixer does it because of the ASIO stuff, but OBS can't use that. I need separate OBS devices.
Yep. Which I'm actually surprised that after all this time, there's still only 3 audio devices that you can map in OBS.
Yeah, they added an extra microphone one, but not an extra desktop one.
Right. I would, if I would, one more would be great.
Yeah. But then there's one more after that. And
yeah.
There is a build, a separate person's build that you can build of OBS that it has ASIO support, but it seemed really complicated to actually make it work. And they can't include it because it's not open source. So they can't include it like in the official launch. But that would work with a lot of the mixers that traditionally only output stereo to like get individual channels, but it wasn't worth it to mess with for me. And then you'd be on a separate update track from the normal one.
Yeah.
Whatever. But it took me going through like 3 different mixers all within like a month to settle on this as being like a solid upgrade once it got to the point that my old Behringer was like truly dying.
As far as the issue that you mentioned with soloing, were you saying that you couldn't solo a channel to monitor that one channel, or that you couldn't control the volume of your headphones compared to the master mix?
You can control like your headphone volume on the whole, but like, so my Behringer Xenix mixers, they all have a solo button that you can press it and keep it excluded from the master track or the sub track. And so you could have like your microphone, you could have like your game sound only loop to your headphones and not loop to the actual output, which is what I was doing. So I had my microphone as its own, since I only had a stereo mix, basically I had the microphone as its own thing and had the loop back of my gaming PC only sent to my headphones.
Right.
You can't have something that's only sent to your headphones on the Soundcraft mixer.
Oh, that's kind of a deal breaker for me.
Anything you hear has to go to the master mix. But the workaround is I'm not using the master mix for anything other than my studio monitor speakers, because I'm using the individual devices in Windows instead of the final mix. I'm mixing in software instead of in the hardware.
Okay.
And so
I think that could work.
Yeah, it's a different workflow, and I definitely recommend like keeping it within like Amazon's return window if you try it, given how expensive it is.
Yeah, because like this might be kind of hard to draw for you, but both of my gaming PC and my streaming PC go into my mixer, and then I'm listening to that mixer. But I need to hear my streaming PC in my headphones, but because OBS is already capturing desktop audio, I don't need to route it back. So I can hit the mute button and it mutes it from going out. And is that the functionality you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's basically like the inverse of that.
Okay.
On the mixers that I had.
Okay.
Because you could have it just not sent to any of the mixes and then still have it set for you to hear. Right. And you can't do that here.
Because I do that for a few things.
If you do use the final mix, you can still mute stuff and still have that captured separately in Windows, because the USB devices you can still capture like before the mute. So honestly, I haven't dug into everything you can do with the mixer because I got what worked for me and left it alone, but it's a very different workflow. And the way that I'm using it, honestly, isn't using it as a hardware mixer like at all. Like everything's set to 100%, and it's up on a shelf now. Like I don't even touch it, but it was worth it for me because now everything is separate and I don't have to worry about balancing it on my own. Like I balance it in OBS, I balance it in my recording later. I record everything multi-track. So depends on what your actual needs are.
It works for you. I got you. All right, cool, dude. Well, is there any other topics that you wanted to touch on before we jumped into the Q&A?
I don't think so.
I know. I didn't ask you to bring any topics, but you never know what's going on in somebody's brain, right?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
We are out of it today.
Hey, that's all right, man. It's a Sunday. It's a holiday weekend. I understand. We got 2 questions from chat. The first one comes from Bearded Corvus. Epos, for a single gaming streaming PC, would you go with Intel or Ryzen?
Probably Ryzen.
Really? Okay. Why? I'm interested in this answer as well.
More cores for your money. Like, okay, so traditionally before I got hashtag sponsored by Intel or whatever, which I'm not even at the moment, but before I had money and YouTube fame, I was pretty much only using AMD because I was poor and that was what was available to me. And even back in the FX days, like I got my AMD FX 9590 for like $150 on a Black Friday sale. It took me months to figure out how to cool the damn thing, but it was 8-core CPU. It ran really well. Like it did everything I wanted. And the same thing sort of applies to Ryzen in that like for your money, you're getting a lot more. If you're into specific like niche like needs with regards to what you're doing, you can get more headway out of the higher core clocks of Intel. And there's generally things are more stable on Intel. Things are, more optimized for that, especially since Ryzen has just kind of kept popping out stuff. Like they've just kind of kept popping out new generations really quick. And so it's been not super stable. But if I were just like going in, assuming you don't have buku of money, I'd probably say Ryzen just because you can get a lot more cores and you can do thread management in Task Manager so that you're only gaming on so many threads and only streaming on so many threads. You have a little bit more wiggle room, assuming you're not trying to do craziness. But even
do you have any videos on that?
I don't, just because, well, in my sponsored 8700K streaming video that I did last year, I show how to do the CPU affinity stuff so that you can like separate OBS and your game, because I was like, yeah, this is great, but you're going to get more performance by doing this anyway. And that was the little jab that works on any processor. But I don't have a dedicated one just because I was kind of waiting on actually getting my hands on some Ryzen stuff just to like target it at that. And then that never happened. My wife's rig that I built is running on Ryzen, but I'm not going to take it over to do a video on it or anything, and just haven't really gotten around to it.
Okay, fair. Yeah, I got a Ryzen 1700X for my streaming PC, and it's great other than I can't quite push 900p 60 FPS streams if I wanted to.
Well, and that's the thing, is I don't recommend it as a dedicated streaming PC, only if you're trying to do both in one.
Really? So you'd recommend Intel for streaming PCs?
Because well, especially the newer Ryzen that is like so many thread counts and stuff. Like X264 is only optimized to use X number of cores per resolution, and so most of the higher core count stuff is a waste on X264 streams. And if you're trying to do both on the same PC and on CPU, I mean, I recommend using NVENC anyway, especially on the modern cards. Like just do it. But if you're trying to do X264, the higher thread counts of Ryzen will help you out in that regard because you can balance your game and stream better. But if you're on a dedicated PC, the faster core counts of Intel, or the faster core clocks of Intel, and the more you can do with it and the further you can push it is a lot better overall. But it is more expensive.
Okay.
But I don't recommend buying Ryzen. Like there's always weirdness of like, yeah, the 1700, especially the 1700X. That's like a really common one where I guess people started with that as their gaming PC and then they upgraded and they want to use it as a streaming PC. They can't quite push it. Like it has like a really weird ceiling of where you can push it compared to the 7700K, the 8700K, the previous generations of Intel. And so I generally recommend going Intel for that. But
I was actually pretty disappointed when I picked up a 2017 model of an 8-core CPU that was supposed to be like this monster, and then I got it all set up, and this is on like a brand new Windows 10 install, barely anything running. I'm like, okay, let's see if I can do 900p 60 FPS 6000 bit rate, and my CPU usage spiked to like 90%. I'm like, really? Because all I was hearing about was people that were buying these, not even the 1700X, but the 1600 and the 1700 chips are like, yeah, I push out 1080p 60 streams all day long. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then I got it. I'm like, you motherfuckers, you're liars. And that wasn't really the case.
There was someone in the OBS Discord that's been setting up their 1700X for a streaming PC, and they're all happy that they can run medium-ish at 1080p. They're like really happy that they accomplished that. And then Dr. Lupo tweeted that he was doing slow on the same processor and he couldn't figure out. And then the guy's just like, I can't get close to this. How the hell is he doing it?
Right.
And it's like, if you like extreme overclock it, you can sort of get it, but they have weird limitations there. But honestly, my big recommendation is for people to stop trying to push 1080p. Unless you're playing at 1080p. Like and most people aren't these days, or at least like most streamers. Like if you're already having a high-end setup, you're playing at 1440p, That's a weird division to get to 1080p. And that's part of the reason my Apex streams look so good is I am doing clean integer scaling from 1440p to 720p. And I'm pushing well, I was doing 6, but 6 to 8 megabits per second is all YouTube even allocates for their videos. Like that's why it looks so good. I'm pushing what YouTube pushes for their videos for 720p.
Okay.
But you get once you're past like 720p low bitrate streaming, like you get way more gains out of little things like clean integer scaling, using the right scaling mode and color chroma subsampling, those things, than you do just I'm gonna push 1080p or 900p doesn't make any sense. What is a multiple of 900p? Are you running at like 854
Don't ask me.
by 450? I
think it's just a matter of getting a little bit more resolution.
People want to feel like they're closer to 1080p, and that means something. Which,
right,
for games that rely on like crisp, tiny details or text, 100%. And most of those games are slower moving anyway, so you should be able to push it. And I mean, you can stream at 4K on Twitch if you're doing desktop stuff. I've watched 4K coding streams. I've streamed 1440p editing streams. When you don't have a whole lot of high action stuff, it works. Go as high resolution as you want. But for action games where you're not trying to read the little text or whatever, you don't want to push just higher resolution means it's lower quality,
right?
And it's harder to push.
Yep. I remember watching so many people, Apex, even H1Z1, people trying to push 1080p 60 FPS H1Z1 streams, and I'm like, and you try to be nice about it. You try to be nice about it, and you're like, dude, you understand that what you see in your OBS preview is not what we see. You understand that, right? And it's always taken as like a slight
1080p, man.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, it looks fine. And of course, like their OBS preview is this big on one of their monitors. But yeah, I've gotten
show the compression anyway. Like they're just like, no, it doesn't look soft anymore. It's fine. But God. Like even on my crazy i9, like I can't really do 1080p slow. I can do 720p slow, but I can't do 1080p slow. And so that's not a realistic expectation for anyone. And that's the big thing with me pushing NVENC. And I'm not paid to say it or anything, but the big thing that everyone harps on of X264 looking better than NVENC is if you're running X264 on medium or slow. And the most of the people who are listening to that advice and jumping in can barely run it at very fast while they game. Right. At that point, even like 9 series NVENC looks better.
Right. Have you ever seen people talking about how broadcasting on a slower preset, you're way more susceptible to buffering and freezing for people watching on mobile?
Yes. And it's come up a couple times in the OBS Discord, and I haven't seen that anyone really knows why, other than there's a couple flags. So the CPU usage presets don't just spend more time processing the image. There's also a lot of different flags and options that you can actually manage yourself with the custom X264 command box. And so you can actually push X264 slow easier if you change what's called trellis. And I have no clue what it does, but if you change it back to 1, say trellis equals 1, it's a lot easier to go and still mostly looks the same. But changing those presets changes all these extra options. And so one of those options on like slower and placebo and sometimes slow changes how it decodes it, because all of these extra configurations also changes how you decode the stream, which is a big part in viewer performance. And so one of those flags, mobile decoding just isn't happy with, but I don't have an answer as to why. And for the most part, there's no one needs to stream below medium. Like no one cares. Medium's like the perfect happy medium.
And plus half of the viewers are watching on a 4-inch screen anyways.
Like,
it's actually great.
Or they're just barely paying attention.
Right. And they're, got you on audio only. And speaking of audio, Gigantic Jen had a part 2 of his question that I'll ask first. What is more important, audio or video?
Audio. Always audio. Whether you're doing videos or streams. Always.
100%. Yep. I can put up with shitty audio, or shitty video, but if your audio is bad, because here's the thing with like video, you can have it to where it gets blocky and the bitrate drops, and then it goes back to happy zone, and then it goes back to shitty, and you can kind of deal with the up and down roller coaster. If you
can't hear you,
right? If you have bad audio, it's bad audio through and through. It sounds terrible from start to finish, and there's never a time where I've been watching something and it has gone so bad that I physically go, oh, oh God.
Whereas audio can literally like physically hurt your ears.
Yes, it makes you wince. The grimacing, it's a totally bad experience. So, you know, there's this whole argument of stream with what you have, and I say that, but also spend $100 on a good microphone and just do yourself a favor.
Yeah. Or learn to use like a noise gate or whatever on your headset microphone, or move it away from your microphone so you're not blowing into it constantly. And that's the thing, is audio quality isn't necessarily sounding like we do right now. Like,
right.
Where, you know, you don't need to sound like a YouTuber to have good audio quality. And you can even have clipping or whatever. Like, you look at most of the streamers that scream all the time, like they're always clipping. That's mostly fine. Like it drives me nuts personally, but like, I put up with it. I put up with it when I watch Doc or whatever because it's funny. But it's the little things like breathing into the microphone, plosives, having weird static hiss in the background, having one of those microphones that still picks up when you get a text message and
yeah, that frequency little glitch.
Or like, yeah, or really loud PC fan noise or whatever. Like, it's those little things, or just like sounding like you're in a cave, which was a time I couldn't watch Doc for a while. Was because he was in a cave.
His empty room.
Yeah, that sounded horrible, and I just couldn't put up with that. But, you know, it's little things like the physics aspects of it that matters a little bit more than sounding like you're a YouTuber. What's up, guys? We're gonna smash the like button. But yes, people will click away immediately for bad audio. People will not necessarily click away for bad video.
Right.
They're here to be entertained, not to see the crispest details on a video game they could boot up themselves.
Good point. All right, second part to Gigantic Gent's question, the last one of the night. Do you think that since you started, the quality that is expected of Twitch streamers nowadays is much more than when you started streaming or in YouTube?
Oh yeah, in every way. Like when I started, I was watching people stream Call of Duty 4 with Wirecast or Flash Media Encoder at 2 megabits per second. That was considered like a high quality stream. With no face cams, there was no such thing as an overlay, really. Like sometimes people would put up like an image, like a logo or something, but like we didn't have the production value we have, like the stream feed we have now. Like this didn't exist.
Right.
I mean, it did for like TV shows, but no one thought to put that in a video game live stream or, you know, a independent live stream. And so now there's so much, and especially even for me, like what I want out of a viewer, like there are some more casual streams I'll watch. Like I mentioned Shroud, like he's boring as hell, but I watch it for the gameplay. But then you have people like Doc or even this live stream where it's just like you need like your be right back screens and your dual view streams when something's going on. You need, if you have a green screen, don't just put yourself over the gameplay, like have a reason to use the green screen. That drives me up a wall. Like people who just want to float above their gameplay, like that just looks bad to me. Like I'd rather see your room and your personality. So give me a cool frame or graphic or something involved. And and it's frustrating because the added production value gives you more opportunities to mess it up and to make it look bad. Right. And so for a lot of people, I think if you're just starting out, to keep it simple and to keep it focused on making it fun and entertaining. But at the same time, as you grow, you need to start thinking of more creative ways to live stream and integrate different things. And I think that is pretty much a requirement at this point because LOL, I live stream video games is no longer like a selling point for anybody in 2019. It barely was in 2009, like when that was new. Like it's no longer a new concept, and so many people just want to market themselves on that. And I get like if you're doing casually, go ahead, but you got to find something to offer either visually or experience wise, or expect to be chilling with 5 viewers forever. And if you're cool with that, be cool with that.
100%.
By all means, hang out with your friends, stick with that. But then don't sit there and complain that you're not being handed viewers or something because you are not trying.
Right. You can't just play video games on Twitch. Right. And you're never, if you want, you can, but you also just need to make it, like, if you want to make it a successful story, you're going to have to go way beyond.
Yeah.
I think that was the last question. All right, dude. Well, again, tonight was an honor. It was super awesome to have you on. Hopefully it felt like no work at all. Hopefully you were just able to come on here and just chat. What I want you to do is just take a second, talk to chat and the future listeners of who you are, what you got going on, what you have for, planned in the future. I want you to throw out all your social medias, sell the fuck out. Do what you want to do.
All right. Well, I will be beginning live streaming not this week, but the following week, every Friday on twitch.tv/EposVox. I'll be doing PC game streams, probably games no one cares about, like Apex and stuff, but stuff I'm having fun with. And then I have my new retro game streaming setup where I'll be doing Pokemon Coliseum on GameCube, random PS2 games, things like that. And I'm hoping to keep that going every Fridays, roughly around 5 or 6 p.m. Eastern time. I haven't set that in stone yet, but really trying to get that going consistently. Over on the channel, it's been kind of slow because I've been trying to get all this stuff set up. But I've got a couple of Streamlabs OBS tutorials finally coming. People have been requesting those like crazy. I've got some really cool reviews of capture cards and microphones that have been piling up that I'm finally getting through. And then if you happen to be going to DreamHack Dallas next weekend, I will be there. I'm hosting a panel. I don't think I can say what for yet. It'll be announced tomorrow, although I don't know that when they said that they were accounting for the holiday. So tomorrow, Tuesday, it'll be announced. But I will be hosting a panel there and hanging out at the event. And it's my first DreamHack. I'm pretty stoked. It was also on my bucket list to go to a Halo event ever since like middle school. So I'm like super stoked to finally, there's a like mini tournament there. So I'm going to go check that out.
Nice.
And then I'll be at LTX later in July as well. So
you pumped for that?
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked. Also, Colton from Linus Tech Tips, who has been my contact to get set up with that, he's their business guy, is going to be at DreamHack as well. So I'm excited to go ahead and get to meet him and get that set up. And so super stoked for all of those things. And yeah, I got a lot of stuff planned. I don't know exactly what the direct schedule is for content, but I've got a lot of cool stuff I'm working on. Hopefully a tour soon. I'm waiting on the video lights to get here next week for my new retro streaming setup. I think I'm going to call it like my childhood bedroom remastered, because I basically like recreated my entire like dream bedroom in this room for live streaming stuff. And I'm pretty stoked. I've got some really cool projects. I'm actually stupidly excited for a stupid background element like no one's going to notice, but it will be really cool for me. I'm finishing that part of the project this week, and yeah, it's gonna be pretty cool.
Awesome, dude.
Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, you've got it all linked there. /EposVox on everything. I post like retro oriented stuff and behind the scenes stuff on Instagram, lots of rants on Twitter. Yeah. And youtube.com/EposVox. Gaming is my gaming / old channel from 2010 that I'm hoping to relaunch. I posted a couple videos about mobile games and Pokemon Rumble Rush that just released and things like that. So I'm places and things
all over.
I got a Discord server too, and I don't know. I've got too many profiles to keep up with. I'm somewhere. My name's, you can search me.
If you Google it, you'll find them.
Yep.
All right. Cool, dude. Yeah, guys, make sure to check out EposVox on all the platforms. Like I said, he's somebody that I learned an extensive amount about, especially regarding OBS, and through a lot of product reviews. So head over to his YouTube channel, give him a like and subscribe on his most recent video. Show him some love. And
Can we
dude,
get this to 5,000 likes?
we're gonna do a giveaway at 5,000. Dude, again, thank you so much for being on the show. It was
Thanks
a true honor for me, and
Yeah.
it was super cool to just sit down, have a chat, and I'd love to have you back sometime.
Absolutely.
All right, cool.
It's been an honor
Guys,
for me as well.
oh, stop it. I'm going to throw up. All right, guys, we're going to get out of here. Thank you again so much for checking out the podcast. Next Sunday is episode 95. It is the 3-year anniversary of the podcast. And
Nice.
and it's just going to be me because we got some things to talk about, but some good things. So we'll see you guys next week. Make sure to check out Epos on all the social medias, and we'll catch you guys next time. Goodbye.
Bye.